Everybody, first conference, first panel or second panel, or everybody coffeeed up? Oh, fourth panel already? All right, guys. So this morning I am super pumped to be here with you guys to talk a little bit about data and AI and all this super fun stuff. And we have an amazing panel here that I'd let themselves introduce in a second. We have a last minute.
I invited myself.
So let's get started. We're already a couple of minutes late, so we can move quickly. Well, one of the things that we're going to be talking about this morning is how AI is unlocking the value of data in enterprises. I think since ever we've been talking about how. I guess since we started capturing data in some shape or form, we've been talking about the fact that data is the new gold or the new oil or the new whatever you want to call it. Something important, very important. But we haven't really tapped the full potential. In the 70s, 80s, as we had the first systems of records emerge, we had data being captured in the form of transactional data. Right, simple structured data was started getting captured by ERPs and CRMs and HCMs and all these kind of cool tools. But that obviously, the transactional data, in the reports that they give you, only show that your sales are pointing upwards to the right, but it doesn't tell you why. Right? What is it that customers are loving? Why are they buying? Why are you winning? That context just doesn't exist. And that's what we want to dig in this morning. We want to dig into how is AI helping organizations go after that new type of data that gives that context, gives that extra information and insights that is going to help organizations really skyrocket in the way they operate their workflows and their decision making. So with no further ado, I will give the panel the chance to introduce themselves. Maybe we start all the way from Nassim and all the way back, and then we can get started with a couple of questions. Nassim, please.
Nice to meet you, everyone. So my name is Nassim Rehol, and I'm VP of Data and AI at Doctolib, which is a European digital health company serving about 400,000 practitioners and 80 million patients using our services to access care. And what we're working on is to use the power of AI to make sure that practitioners no longer are data archaeologists trying to find information about their patients and spending a lot of time on that, but being able to alleviate their workload and also to help them provide better care, because eventually it's about outcomes, and that's what we're working on.
Hi everyone, my name is Victoria and I'm a principal technical evangelist at Databricks, and my role is really to bring us forefront innovations to developers and help to enable and empower developers to utilize the new technologies. So creating educational content. And prior to this, I worked at AWS for almost 4.5 years, where I helped partners and customers to build AI innovations on top of AWS and create SaaS products.
Hi everyone, I'm Samuel Cohen, CEO of Fergen. We're the leading company doing synthetic data for market research, helping basically create more data from the data that you have. We're working with leading brands like L'Oreal, T-Mobile, and more, and really trying to basically take the data that you have and see what we can do with it. So we'll talk about that.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Harry Folliter, Chief Digital and Technology Officer of Alorica. We're a 200,000 employee global company that helps customer experiences. So imagine you call your favorite brand and someone helps you, that's us. We have over 1 billion transactions a month, and unlocking insights from what consumers are telling you through their actions, but most importantly, what they're telling you through their non-actions is how AI is truly influencing how the global market evolves.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Robert, co-founder and CEO of Blackbox AI. We're building autonomous coding agents. We're across 20 million active users on Blackbox. Our solution is primarily for software developers that are looking to automate their tasks. We're growing at a rate of more than 1 new user per second. Approximately 3 million users per month are using more Blackbox today to automate software engineering tasks. So whether it's a small team, whether it's a large enterprise, we go from small businesses to government institutions using Blackbox today. And we're fortunate to be to have a very talented team of engineers. We're also recruiting, if there's great engineers also in the audience. And we're also fortunate to have some of the best Navy SEAL officers on our team that led some of the most decorated SEAL units. So this also has a big impact on the culture, on the organization, and we're looking for this panel to also share with you more.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Maybe we kick it off right away. And Victoria, if that's OK, I'd love to kick it off with you. One of the things that I love, and you recently joined Databricks from AWS, one of the things I really loved about the stats that Databricks shared was that 80% of the data, the unstructured data, is video data. So I'd love to take your perspective about how are you guys at Databricks seeing, yourselves or your customers, move from, transactional structured data to wanting to tap the unstructured, messy, qualitative, chaotic data, and also point out a little bit about your efforts in the open source space and how you guys are integrating that in the way you think about it at Databricks.
Okay, well, thank you for putting me on the spot. So I think when it comes to any type of modality, right, whether it's a text or audio or video, it all starts with a good governance, right? Good governance and security. You probably heard some stories like Chevrolet when they first launched their AI chatbot and people went on their website and they asked like, what's the best truck? And the bot replied, Ford F-150. So you definitely don't want this to happen, right? And this comes with guardrails. So whether it's video or audio, you really have to, in order for AI to work, you have to have a good data foundation. And that's what we call at Databricks data intelligence. So you basically take your data and you combine it with artificial intelligence to get data intelligence. So one of the good examples to your point about the video is Xfinity company. So they have this voice remotes that you kind of like say what you want, and it will find your in catalog some video. But the challenge there, so let's say you are saying, hey, I want to watch a video about dragons. In just caption itself and a title, there might be nothing about dragons, right? So you have to build those kind of like semantic systems that will understand, not only do the pattern matching, right, like LLM does by predicting the words and understanding what's the exact name, but really get your vector database that with all the metadata about different scenes, motions, the characters. And then, so what we've done with them, we helped them to build this kind of semantic systems, along with also getting the data from providers about their shows. And now we were able to sessionize, so whenever you speak, you can imagine just the scale, 28 million devices, you have over 12 billion of this voice commands that have to be done in real time. So we sessionize this data to create kind of like a customer journey. And based on this, then find the relevant information and show it to you right away. And this translated to Emmy-winning experience. But again, it was not because, oh, it was a great video. It was because of this data governance that was built to get all of the semantic data in place. If you don't have any semantic data, you can build all of the LLMs, and they're not going to do anything for you.
That is super cool. And who talks about governance and guardrails? I mean, Nassim, you couldn't be more spot on, right? I mean, at Doctolib, you're treating health data. I know you've blogged quite a bit about, how AI can help practitioners be more efficient in the work that they do and giving them more opportunity to focus on the patients. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you guys tackle all the unstructured data at Doctolib and how you're looking to leverage that in terms of your understanding or the insights that you can create in terms of better experiences for customers? May that be, people like you and I who are using Doctolib or the practitioners who are the service providers?
Yeah, of course. And we're working in healthcare at Doctolib, so it's always being able to strike that balance of managing data in a way that is the most secure possible and the most governed possible, but also being able to extract insights and value, because that value can save lives. So it's about striking that balance. And if you look at the data landscape in primary care, it's really a collection of patient files. Usually you have one per patient, per practitioner. And in that patient file, you have like lots of different things. It can be documents, all sorts of documents, lab results, x-rays, prescriptions. And it's also about like the notes that practitioners have written in the very few minutes that they have with you. So that's basically what they know about you. And our job is to extract as much insights and info for them to help them provide the best care. Typically, with lab results, what you want to do is not have doctors parse different PDFs. What you want is to be able to plot a specific measurement over time to see how it evolves and be able to get some sort of information that helps make a differential diagnosis. Same for the medical notes. What you want is not just to write them and forget about them. What you want is to extract medical history information, for instance, so that it can be saved. And the next time you go and see your practitioner, that information is there and it can help make the right medical decisions. So that's exactly what we're working on. And eventually what we're trying to build is not just something that can extract structured information and provide it to practitioner, but also something that can help from that data surface the right information at the right time so that practitioner can make the right decision. It's about patient data. It's also about medical knowledge that is doubling every 5 years. So by the time you finish your studies, basically what you know has been outdated. And it's all of that. So a lot of our job is actually to be able to take data, transform it into on-the-spot insights for practitioners so that they can help provide better care for all of you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And when we talk about like a lot of data, I mean, Harry, you were telling me earlier on when we were chatting that you guys have 280,000 people collecting data. So Harry's organization essentially enables, and covers call centers, right? I mean, whenever you guys are calling some stuff, Harry's team is organizing that, and how you are transforming these call centers, right? So could you tell us about how you guys tackle that? How are you rethinking the call center business, reimagining of what that would look like in a world that is led by AI and more efficient, more capable, and also more intelligent?
Yeah, absolutely, Mary. So thank you for the question. And the getting to know the panel this morning has been fantastic, because everyone plays a different part in the ecosystem, a very important ecosystem. And my part of that ecosystem, as you said, is we have over 200,000 employees in 23 countries that are helping each one of you in the audience. So if you've ever called to get help from anybody, you've probably interacted with us and you've never known about it. Fortune 500 trusts us with their consumers to help make sure that their brand's protected and their product's protected. But to your point, what I always introduce myself in internal meetings as the chief cannibal officer, because I'm literally cannibalizing our existing business, which always makes me super fun in financial meetings as I look at their spreadsheets and make them go down. But it's all about providing the value. And as you said, the amount of, sorry, I'm not very good with the microphone. The amount of transaction that we have on a daily basis around the world is amazing. And the picture I like to give is, if you imagine yourself as an agent, because we talk about AI agents, there's still human agents. So our vision is that we want to make superhumans. We want to take AI and make our humans super intelligent and combine the best of both worlds. So imagine, I'm from Texas, and so when I say football, most Americans think about American football, but in Europe I'm saying, imagine you're a goalie in football and you have a penalty kick. And if you're the goalie with no knowledge of anyone who's kicking the ball at you, you have no idea where it's going to go. You're guessing. Every time someone comes up, you're guessing about where it's going to go, and you have to jump one way or the other. Our job is to make sure that the goalie is educated to understand they're probably going to go in the left pocket, the right pocket. They're going to understand and have a tremendous amount of information and data brought to you by AI agents to help supercharge the relay of answers, the relay of knowledge, but most importantly, the relay of brand protection and help. So we're taking massive amounts of global transactional data, combining it into super intelligent conversational AI methodologies for our humans to be superpowered to help the consumer at the end of the day with the right guardrails, with the right context, like she talked about. And it's really an amazing journey and an amazing time to live with the amount of technology and availability of having us be where the rubber meets the road. You're going to hear about and investigate and understand incredible tech stacks, incredible training knowledge, incredible contextual awareness. For what reason? Well, the rubber has to meet the road where people are actually interacting with it, and that's what we do. Hopefully well.
Absolutely. We obviously on the panel, we've been talking about, the amount of data that is available. But I think, Sam, you guys do something really cool. Because, everybody's talking about, wow, there's a ton of data available. We don't know what to do with it. But you guys are essentially saying, yeah, but we can actually make more data, right? There's a lot of firms, as you pointed out, that are trusting you with what the understanding what their customers want. Where you, for example, take a sample of a survey, and from that, statistically, you can create relevant additional data in the form of synthetic data. I would love to get your thoughts on, there's a lot of talk about synthetic data, of course, about the opportunity of it as AI has eaten all the real data, non-synthetic data. Could you tell us about how you guys are tackling the idea of trust, and how can we have the veracity of the data? How you guys are approaching this to help organizations get a better understanding of what the customers are and want, need, and are saying?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I can give a little example just to understand first the problem. So the first thing is you have a product, you launched it, it does great in some markets and worse in others, right? And the question always is, do I try to make it better in the markets where I'm doing bad? Or am I gonna try to get like a higher growth factor in the market where it's already doing great? And typically you'll be like, no, I want to open more markets. These markets have very small penetration on, I don't know, for example, Hispanics in the US. Let's try to see how can I do better. The main problem is, if I'm doing bad in this market, I don't have a lot of data on consumers in this market, right? So it's kind of a vicious circle where I don't have enough data and I need this data to do better. So how can I do better? So that was basically the whole thesis that we had at Virgin. And the way we solve it is we tell basically massive insights companies that they can give us any kind of survey they run. So for example, like L'Oreal runs, I don't know, millions of surveys a year on consumers targeted on specific brands within different markets and within different product lines. So it tells them, okay, take a single survey, okay? And let's say you're interested in this segment of the population. For example, hardcore users of, I don't know, Kerastase, which is a very niche brand of L'Oreal. We're saying we're able to find patterns in their data that are allowing us to basically steal signal from other brands and enrich the data of this brand where they have low penetration. And that's basically what we call statistical enrichment. And what this practically allows us to do is to say, okay, every month you're gonna get data from 100 customers of that brand. I'm able to triple that, and that allows you to really understand the dynamics and behaviors happening within these brands, and then basically make sure that that brand is bigger, and that later you don't need to enrich that data because this market is open and doing great. So it's very different from the concept of synthetic data that you probably see around training LLMs and all of that. It's more about basically stealing signal from data that you already have to make the data that you have better, richer, and faster and cheaper also, which I think is always more what matters when you run a business. But thanks for the question.
Very cool. Really awesome way of augmenting the data that organizations have access to. And maybe Robert, I'll follow up with you because obviously whenever we talk about data, we think about qualitative, unstructured data. But you guys have a really interesting approach because you also think about code as data. Right, the code as data. So how do you guys think about that, and what does that look like when you are trying to take and extract intelligence and value out of code as data?
Definitely, it's a really good point. So in our case, which we're building AI autonomous coding agents. So what comes in as input is very, very messy data for the agent to work with. So the starting point that the agent starts from is really a certain code base. Would be like, for example, a very large code base for an organization. The user gives it a task, which is also can be very unclear for what the task is. And this would be the starting point for the agent to take a project, a code base, take a task, and then go from this point on, and it's on its own to finish the task. So what it goes through different trajectories. It decides to suggest for the user, for example, 3 different plans, and it can go and execute them. What ends up happening is that there's file writes, file edits, there's terminal logs that ends up happening, which are very, very messy, where typically an engineer is having to parse through those logs, define there's an error where the agent had failed, or the user as developer would be typically failing through some implementation of features or bug fixes. So these logs are incredibly messy, takes a lot of time to parse through. The agent is able to read those logs, self-correct as it's going through the task execution. And it's not only doing these kind of tasks in a background environment, it's able to fully test out client-side features as well, whether they're browser-based, mobile-based, any kind of visual also type of data that comes out. So this can be coming from screenshots, from screen recordings of a different type of flow that the app is supposed to be doing. So this is a whole set of different types of data that is extremely messy that comes in through input to the agent. And one of the unique things that helps us a lot and is very unique to the coding space is that everything can be validated and confirmed. So any code change, you have an instant feedback and an instant result, or like it's not a human subjective evaluation. Yes, this code was good or bad. You're able to instantly run it on a virtual machine, execute this code, get the feedback, run some test results as well, and also you can have a language model judge that is also having another perspective to analyze whether the entire trajectory of the agent was successful. So we're able to combine both execution, which will give us a binary result, whether the task was successfully implemented. And also we're able to leverage language models as well for like a third party, more reasoning type of evaluation that can validate whether this was good or bad. And these techniques and these tools helped us scale Blackbox. Now we're in the top 25 globally across AI companies. So if you look at the by user adoptions, you have definitely ChatGPT at the top, you have DeepSeek. These are like the top companies, but across categories, Blackbox is ranked 25 by user adoption, and this is all due to the agent's capability that keeps improving on a day-to-day basis, and we're excited about there's much more opportunities ahead, not to just keep it autonomously, run through things in secure environments where they're more on a playground basis, but also we're looking to release very soon the ability for the agents to be running completely in live environments where it can take live server logs and take live client-side crashes, take live analytics based on like user preferences where they're picking to choose from, and these decisions would be given back to the agent, and the agent will be able to make changes without invoking it by a human. So these are some of the things that are coming up as well.
This is really interesting perspective of how code could also be considered as data. So maybe one of the things probably some people in the audience are thinking is now we put the bar here. Right? I mean, people are probably listening and saying, wow, this all sounds great, but I'm down here, So maybe one thing that we could all tackle, and I would love to get your perspectives on, is, well, if you guys are, how would you recommend, or what was your journey when you guys started? Many people here in the audience may be doing pilots or, initial usages and those kinds of things. What has been your journey, or what would be your recommendations for somebody in the audience who's thinking, yeah, all this stuff that these guys talked about was so cool, but what's the journey there? What should I be thinking about? What should I be worrying about? And, give them some guidance and intel on how they can tackle this stuff. Maybe Victoria, please.
Yeah, I just want to continue about this, what we discussed. So 70 to 85%, right, of POCs, they fail. They don't go to production. And why is that? Well, because, they good perform on demos, but then when you put it in production, you get something like Ford F-150, the best car, right? So how do you get now into this becoming top 25 company and building these agents? That's where you cannot just do vibe checking your agents, right? You have to build real evaluation systems. So with at Databricks, we really believe in open source technology. So we just released a new version, which is called MLflow 3. Maybe some of you already used MLflow. It has like over 30 million downloads every month. But this framework provides exactly that. It gives you the ability to create synthetic data, evaluate your, based on your data, right? Evaluate how the agent will respond. It will also allow you to create those custom metrics where now your LLM judges can go and run all kinds of different prompts and then give you the exact score. And you can play with it. You can change the model. You can change, like you can try Claude, you can try ChatGPT, you can try open source models, which are much, much cheaper, right? So you have now all of these tools available, so you can try those evaluations at scale before you put them into production so that you avoid those kind of costly mistakes.
Nassim, what has your journey been? How do we go from pilot to production, from zero to hero?
I think so. Going to production is hard. So like, do it early and do it often, and that's actually how we manage it. So specifically, I'm going to give an example on the AI scribe feature that we've developed, and it took about I think 10 months before it hit like general and commercial availability. After I think 3 weeks, we actually had something in production used by practitioners in beta mode. They knew that they should not trust everything that is recommended by that system that recommend the consultation notes, but it's still something that allowed to have like 9 months to gather learnings and adjust the system, because obviously, especially in healthcare, you don't want to do things wrong. You want to make sure that even though humans are always in the loop and reviewing what you do, you still want to suggest them something that is relevant, because we know how we are. Like, when something is suggested, we have a tendency to just kind of accept the recommendation. We also have guardrails for that, by the way. Like if we see that practitioners are accepting recommendations too often, we show them a pop-up asking kind of like, are you still watching? To make sure that they still review. So it's all of these learnings where you need to hit production early in order to have the time to make them. Otherwise, like you're going to miss them. I think the second big learning, and it's also relevant to that, it's you should go for the most informative, most plentiful source of unstructured data. We first started by trying to structure consultation notes entered in a hurry by physicians that are like usually 100 or 200 characters long, and that's it. Of course, like it's a super lossy compression of the patient encounter that has just happened, and we got much better results, richer data, better classification by actually going to the source, which is looking at the audio of the consultation and using that, the transcription, to be able to structure it. So for me, it's like 2 key learnings that we try to apply over and over again for all of the projects that we're doing.
That's amazing. Sam, you want to give a little bit of your perspective about pilot to production? How do you think about that?
Yeah, of course. Internally, I typically recommend 6 steps, like in order to basically make it smoother and faster. The first one is to do a great discovery, right? If you have a great product discovery, you have a much higher chance of getting to production. So start from that always, like run expert interviews, customer interviews, start from that. The second thing is, once the scope is very clear, you need in parallel to do design, and typically architectural design, even UI, UX if you need so. And in parallel, you need to build an evaluation suite. So I'm fully aligned with what was said before on the need to have a very strong evaluation suite that's aligned with production, with what you expect to happen in production. And so if your test cases are too simple, there's a super high risk that it looks good, basically internally on internal benchmarks, and then it completely fucks up when you get to prod and to the real world. So that's step 2. Step 3 is start developing. Do an MVP, start testing it internally, just very simple MVP. Step 4, iterate. Iterate first internally on your evaluation suites, right? Then next step is get it in the hands of early customers. So typically we always have like a kind of beta platform lying on the side of the main platform, and we start giving early access to customers, and that allows us to iterate without like having like a kind of meltdown of launching full blown into prod and then basically messing up and then being like, okay, am I rolling back but like all of my users have seen that I've messed up, or or basically keep with what I have and try to do hot fixes which sometimes make it even worse. So really iterate with customers. And the last thing is monitoring. So the evaluation that you have needs to be able to monitor in prod along the way that things are doing well. So our way of doing that internally is we relaunch the same tests which have a great coverage, both like statistical, also the platform tests, like every single day, just to make sure that our models like consistently perform to the level of expectations. So all of these steps, like each of them take time, but at the end of the day, if you look at the general picture of going from pilot to prod, if you implement them, like you typically basically get much faster to prod and to a safe prod, not a messy production. Yeah, hope that helps.
Super interesting. Harry, you guys have shipped Knowledge IQ, Revolt. You guys have won awards. How have you guys gone from conceiving these things, trying them out, pilot to production, supporting hundreds of thousands of agents, helping customers?
First, must compliment you on your research. That's fantastic. Thank you for looking at that. So one thing that Victoria said, I want to fail fast. Don't be afraid to fail fast, right? So in the audience, if you're thinking about, well, what business case do I have, what do I look at, it's daunting. Pick something simple, super simple. So we started with how do we, we're looking at, 320 clients, where do we start? And we were talking about in the hallway, I called it an interpreter. Make sure you have an interpreter that can actually translate business speak to tech and tech speak to business. Because if you don't have the support of your grassroots, which is mostly not technical people, you are not going to succeed. You're going to fail and fail fast and fail often. Make sure that the product that you're building, that you're testing, that you're putting into production, that you're putting in trials, make sure that you can actually relate it to your business colleagues. So you can actually say why we're doing it. What is it going to do? And I know it sounds cliche. I'm not going to use the word ROI because that's going to be used here a million times today. But make sure that you can actually have a translator tell the business constituents, your consumers, what is it that you're doing? What is it that you're solving? And why does it matter? You can bring insights out. You can look at data. You can look at archaeology of data records. But at the end of the day, how do you tell a doctor? How do you tell a CEO? How do you sit in front of a board and explain why it matters? Why should you get the capital to invest in Databricks? Why should you believe that this AI agent can be put in front of your consumer? Why is it safe? Well, here are the reasons why. It's going to do exponential things to our business. It's going to help educate. And that's where we started. With Revolt was a great example. We had a barrier of language. Well, how do we get Arabic or English-speaking agents the ability to speak Swedish, Finnish, Nordic languages and still help rather than trying to find the one person who is on staff who actually spoke Swedish who was maybe at a kid's birthday? We couldn't do that anymore. We had a clear business value proposition to help translate real-time agents and help. So at the end of the day, the topic of the session, right? How do you actually turn data into gold? Have a clear business value proposition that anyone in your organization that can understand. We take our lowest analyst, and if they can explain what we're trying to do to the board, we won. If they can't, no one's allowed to talk about it. Clear, simple, crisp communication and business value.
That very important stuff. Robert, how are you guys tackling this in your organization? How have you scaled things up?
Definitely. So one of the key aspects that we go through whenever there's a new release that's coming up and that will generally enhance the coding agent that we have, just like some of the best organizations, we always have an adoption first internally. So we never release something that is out that was rejected by our internal team of engineers to be using that release. So this is always our initial test. Is everyone on the team using this and heavily using this as a new release that's coming up? Once this goes past, we're fortunate to really have a high pace of growth, big volume of users. So we're able to distribute these new rollouts features based on geographies, based on patterns of users, based on feedbacks that we get on just interest of testing new features, beta features that are coming out. So this is one of the things that we typically always follow. We build very quick initial versions. We don't wait for a very finished product to be released. But if it's always to a state where our engineers internally are not yet satisfied with the version, because it's ultimately about helping them be more productive. We're our first customers, and if it's not really benefiting us, we're not going to put it out. And then from that point on, we're just getting more data on user feedback. One of the unique things that we can this will eliminate any noise that we have on our own performance. We track how many pull requests get merged from our coding agents. So each time a task is complete, just like any engineer, they would submit a pull request. This pull request, whether it gets merged, means that this engineer is on a good track, is working well. So whenever anything gets done, we're tracking, seeing is this new version increasing the success rate or making another impact. So this is one of the key things that we typically follow.
Super cool. Maybe just to quickly wrap it up, guys. 30 seconds. unless before the other guys throw themselves on the stage. What I would love to get your thoughts on what's next. Right, we talked a lot about everything that we've done, where we came from, what have we built, what have you achieved. I think we got a great insights into what you guys and your different organizations have done in that space. I would love to maybe start from Nassim and down the panel. So what do you see as the next step? What is it that you guys are thinking about? What should the audience think about in terms of what's coming next and how the future is going to look like? Nassim?
Yeah, I think when it comes to data structuration, like we've seen unstructured data as something that had to be structured before we can get any value out of it. I think this is going to change. I think that we're going to be able to get much more value out of data in its unstructured form, and I think that is like what you should be watching for. We see that in healthcare. There's no reason why it should not happen in other domains. So to me, like that's the next thing to be watching for.
Yeah, I think right now there are a lot of emphasis on the best model, and oh my god, like now this model can be multi-model and it's excelled and this and this and this benchmark, but the reality is that majority of the companies cannot even handle their text data. So what we need to really prioritize are the key pillars to move this PLC right to production, which is observability. Can we really monitor and understand how LLM is solving our problem? Second is security. Do we know that we can trust this system? Do we have a proper governance set up in terms of who can access data, who cannot access data, and what data can be accessed? And the last one is evaluation. Do we know that the system performs well, and how can we make it better? So those are the key three pillars that I see that will help really to make this into return on investment, even so that it's overused form, but it will really help us to make it to enterprise AI.
And on my side, I really think that the quest to super intelligence that's happening right now is going to be moved forward more by data than architectural changes. So yeah, let's gather a lot of data. Let's connect all types of data sources, text, video, audio, behavioral data, geolocation, like any kind of thing that we can have to train these models. And I really think that the next leaps will come from structuring the data, making it ingestible, like all together, and we'll have basically leaps coming on the super intelligence quest.
Awesome. Two key concepts. Journey maps, signals intelligence. Make sure that you understand everybody's journey in your ecosystem as you're doing this. Internal employees, external customers, clients. Have the right journey map. Data will help structure and lead those journey maps. And signals intelligence. Make sure that your data is set up to give you signals. People's interactions, both voice, non-voice, all that we just talked about, they're giving you signals. Pay attention to those signals. Make sure that you have parameters in place that you can listen and act upon them.
Robert?
Yeah, very briefly, I'm pretty sure everyone here in the audience has some form of a product that they're putting out to users, a tech product. So the key thing that I'll try to communicate as much as possible is really the fastest your team is adopting coding AI agents and specifically black box AI, because it really will make a massive difference on how you're building the product. So we would really encourage you to shift how your team is really coding today to be much more managing the agents rather than just wasting time coding themselves. So this is one of the massive way in terms of like unstructured data, how they're really managing these logs, these terminal logs, these client-side logs, and so on. So just briefly on this.
Super insightful. Well, guys, I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank you all for all the amazing insights that you guys provided and shared. Thank you so much. And maybe the audience, join me in giving a hand for the great panel. Thank you so much.